Hey Wanderers,
I'm Amanda.
and I'm Ron.
Welcome to Wanderlost.
This is Military Chatter.
So this is our weekly series where we talk about what our life is like in the military. And last week we started with chaplain duties, and we actually recorded a little bit part of what we're going to play today, so that's going to be the beginning of this video. So we're going to go back in time for a minute, and then we'll join you back here.
Yeah, we didn't switch clothes just for that segment.
Right. Okay. So what does the AFI say about what you need to do with your units?
So it varies from location to location as to how a wing chaplain will utilize his RSTs. Generally, they're going to be assigned to groups or squadrons depending on how things are broken out. Here we assign it at the group level. So we have a chaplain and a religious affairs airman who their primary focus is on maintenance group. So all the maintainers. One that does the mission support group. So all those cats and dogs that make the base run the support functions, they provide for them. And the idea is that we spend consider most of our time in those units, out there kind of where the airmen get dirty and do their job, because we can better care for them if we know what their stressors are. The other part of that is that when they come in, when Airman Snuffy, and Airman Snuffy has a lot of problems in the Air Force, when he comes in and he says, I want to see a chaplain, the first question out of whoever sees him's mouth is going to be, what's your unit? Because we want to connect Airman Snuffy with their chaplain.
Right.
Because ideally that chaplain is known to this airman because he's part of the squadron, that the chaplain has been involved, because as those RSTs, we don't just go out when something bad happens. You know, we're going to be at promotion ceremonies. We're going to be at commanders' calls. We're going to be at
squadron parties,
squadron picnics. Yes, the chaplain. We go to every holiday party, and I mean, if you're the MSG chaplain, that's 6 squadrons.
Right.
So that means in the span of the month of December, you're going to 6 holiday parties.
Right. Which was a really nice thing when we were in Turkey. We didn't have anything else to do. We just went to a ton of Christmas parties.
So, but you're going to be involved in that unit. So you're going to engage with them at every single opportunity, because the better they know you, the more likely they're going to come to you when they need something, when they have a problem, when they need support.
Okay, so you just heard how it works in the units and what their jobs are, their duties are there. But how about pastoral things?
So pastorally, we are pastors as we come in. So chaplains are officers and chaplains. What they say is, or what we have is, we have rank without authority. So we do not carry in command authority. That's why the commander is responsible for the religious programs that we implement, because we don't have command authority. We don't command anybody. If you were to end up and that's because that's a conflict of our duties, which we'll talk about later when we talk about confidentiality. But we don't command. So if it's a chaplain and a whole bunch of enlisted, the highest ranking enlisted is technically in charge, because we don't have any command authority as far as we do things.
So what kind of care then, pastoral care, do you do?
Well, so it would be just the things that a pastor would do. So it's doing visitation, if hospital visitation, if they happen to be in the hospital. It would be providing, all those sorts of things, checking in on people, maybe doing a newsletter, those sorts of things. So the pastoral things that would naturally build out of building a relationship with someone whom you have spiritual charge of.
So things like counseling.
Things like counseling. So that's a big key as chaplains, as we do pastoral counseling. So we are not licensed therapists. We are not psychologists. Some of our chaplains may have that training, but when we are serving as a chaplain, our lane is pastoral counseling. So counseling as a pastor would, to try to guide people to make moral and ethical decisions, especially based around the tenets of their faith. And we encourage that. That's the lane that we own, is that spiritual realm.
What about I know that you did some training on some crisis counseling
Mm-hmm.
or like suicide prevention kind of stuff. Is that specifically a chaplain thing? Like, are all chaplains supposed to be trained in that, or is that a duty or something?
So all chaplains, when we go through our basic chaplain course, we have at least when I went through, we had a week, I think it was a week or 2 weeks, we called our toolbox weeks, where we get some of those specific things. But when we coming through seminary and being a local pastor, you do some of those things anyway. But yes, we get specific training to do crisis intervention, because generally we see people on their worst day. We hope people will come by and tell us when things are going good, but that doesn't always happen. And what's unique about the Chaplain Corps, I don't say unique, but it's what I want people to know about the Chaplain Corps, is that crisis intervention counseling, that's not just the chaplains. The religious affairs airmen get that same training, so that they can do crisis intervention. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One is that when we're at the chapel and someone has had a tragic day, they've lost a loved one, their marriage is falling apart, and they're at the end of their rope, and they walk in the chapel looking for help, they're not going to look and see if that person's got a cross on the uniform before they just open up. They're going to see that first uniform and go, "You can help me." And so it's our chaplains and our religious affairs airmen have that capability to do crisis counseling and to do intervention. And that's where we talk about crisis intervention versus pastoral counseling. Religious affairs airmen don't do pastoral counseling. That's not their lane. Their lane, because that may denote an ongoing relationship, or sitting down several times to talk through the spiritual, moral implications of something going on in their life. But in crisis, either a chaplain or religious affairs airman, either one, have the same skill sets to engage in that crisis. And the religious affairs airmen, once they get them through that initial crisis, then they're going to get them to a chaplain so that they can have that deeper and ongoing pastoral care. But they're going to be the one right there in the midst of that goes, how do we get them from breaking down crying to the next thing? Now, the second reason that's also important is because when we talk about those RSTs going into units, there's a saying that stripes talk to stripes. So right now, as a deputy wing chaplain, I am a major in 04. I'm a field grade officer. That young airman may not want to talk to me. It doesn't matter that I'm a chaplain and I have confidentiality, which we'll talk about later. That's intimidating to them. We talk sometimes that they can't see past the rank to get that there's the cross there or the tablets there.
So what you're saying, stripes are the stripes
that the enlisted wear.
That the enlisted wears.
Yes.
So that saying won't make sense if you don't know what stripes mean.
Yes. But saying that enlisted talk to enlisted, and they may not want to talk to the officer. It doesn't matter. They're an officer.
Well, and you already have a shared history, because they don't know what kind of training you went through when they see you, but when they see that religious affairs airman with the stripes, they're like, oh, they went to basic. Right. Like, there's no...
They went to basic. They went to tech school.
Like, they went through what I
Absolutely.
went through. And so there's that shared history immediately, whether they know them or not. So.
Yes. So that's the other reason. And because, a staff sergeant, E5, NCO, may be able to get things out of a senior airman that would never come to me, just even in passing. Not even because I want to sit down and talk to you, but when they go into the workspace to chat, there's a whole different thing than when the officer walks in. Oh, there's an officer, So it's a very important thing, and what I want people to know is that when it comes to that crisis stuff, that it's the chaplain corps, not the chaplain. The chaplain corps is there to provide that support.
So, okay, we covered pastoral care, we covered like counseling and crisis management. What about other programs too? I know that there's been a big emphasis on getting things before it reaches the crisis point. Like, I don't remember if that was called something specific, but Oh, before the bang, right?
Yes, we talk about wanting to get left of the bang.
Right.
Because the bang is when something goes wrong. Now, I argue, and a lot of us in the Chaplain Corps say, that the bang, though, isn't when the divorce papers are served. That's after the bang. The bang is when the relationship starts to break down. So yes, and we talked about what's the commander's intent. So when we talk about retreats and those sorts of things, we call those resiliency programs, strong family structure.
If you have anything to do with the military, you have heard the word resiliency about 1 billion times.
Ad nauseum.
Right.
It's the buzzword, but it's truth. It's the ability to bounce back. And so yes, a big part of what we do is we are the ones, and not the only entity, but because Airmen Family Readiness, they do resiliency type stuff as well. We exclusively own the spiritual realm. So a marriage retreat that Airmen Family Readiness does is going to be, well, here's a budget class, here's all that. And we'll have those things in ours, but we can bring in the spiritual element. And what does faith have to do with this? So we do resiliency programs, but we're able to bring in that spiritual pillar of Airman Fitness in ways that other areas can't, because we own, that's our line.
So let's do a quick side to say about the pillars right quick.
So in the Air Force, we talk about having the 4 pillars of CAF, Comprehensive Airman Fitness.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't have gotten that. Comprehensive Airman Fitness. Okay.
So 4 pillars: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So physical, can you do your push-ups, sit-ups? How are you healthy? How are you eating? Those sorts of things. Mental, how are you from a mental perspective? Are you stressed?
Are you resilient?
But are you stressed? Do you have all the, are you operating at full capacity? Or social, do you have a social network? Do you have people that you can lean on in times of trouble?
They call them your wingmen.
Yes. And then
it doesn't mean going out to pick up members of the opposite sex.
And then there's the spiritual pillar, and that's our lane. And we own that.
So I see something on our list about Airmen Ministry Centers. What's in the AFI about that?
So Airmen Ministry Centers are, think of them as a coffee house most of the time, but it's a place that the chapel runs that is designed to be a spiritual haven. Generally you find them if there is a dorm presence at your base, that you're going to have an Airmen Ministry Center, because we like to say, so like for ours, that it's their living room. It's a place where they can come and relax and get out of their dorm room. But it varies from place to place what that ministry center is going to look like based on what it needs. Down at Keesler, there is a huge one called the Fishbowl, because that's a training base. So there is an Airmen Ministry Center for all those tech trainees, because they're there for a short amount of time to do tech training. They're going to have their families, so it differs from place to place. What makes those unique is because it's one of the few places where tax dollars and tithes and offerings mix. So the building, any chapel building, whether we're talking about a chapel sanctuary, we're talking about like where we have here, we have a chapel activity center, or an Airmen Ministry Center. The building itself and all of the infrastructure is paid for by appropriated funds, APF. So what we're a portion of tax dollars to do that. So any improvements to the building, that the light bill gets paid, furniture, all that comes out of appropriated funds. But there are things that we pay for with CTOF, the Chapel Tithes and Offerings Fund, which is what people put into the plate on Sunday. So that's the 52105 AFI, governs all of how that is, and we have a 3-page spreadsheet of here's what you can pay for with appropriated funds, and here's what you can pay for with CTOF funds. For the Airmen Ministry Center, what that means is the building, whatever that is that the commander gives to use that, any infrastructure, if you're going to put in a new wall, take out a wall, couches, TVs, game systems, all of that comes from appropriated funds to make the place run. But food, that's all CTOF. So at most Airmen Ministry Centers, the commander's going to say, hey, I'll give you this area, all this stuff, and then the Doritos and the donuts that the young airmen eat, and the coffee that the airmen eat, that all comes out of what people put into the plate on Sunday morning. And so if you go to a military chapel, Don't think, oh, well, the chaplain's paid for by my tax dollars and all this. I don't need to put anything in the plate, because how we do ministry outside of the things that are mandated by Congress is through what you put in the plate on Sunday morning.
Right, and also CTOF is food if you guys are feeding the people that are working through a blizzard, or if you're feeding somebody.
We'll use that. Each chapel will set its own CTOF budget. But yes, you can do unit engagements through outreach. You can do burger burns where you cook out for a unit. That sort of thing. So CTOF is very important to us because it allows us to do most of our outreach, and to do things that you just can't do with appropriated funds.
Okay, so we have one more episode because there are still more duties for the chaplain to have.
But we only work 1 hour on Sundays, right?
Right. So we will see you guys next week with our final episode for chaplain duties, and then we will have the Q&A after that. So don't forget to put your questions below.
Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
It's below.
Make sure to like, comment, and surprise. Make sure to like, comment.
He said surprise. That one tickled me. Like, comment, and surprise. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, don't laugh. We have to do it again without laughing. Don't! You made me laugh.
Well, why?
I was just trying to make my face relax. Okay, don't look at me.
I'm not. I'm
Okay.
purposely looking away. You let me know when you've got it together.
When I got it together. Okay, I'm ready. Just don't say
I'm planning on not saying that. But can you let me say anything?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Totally. And this is why I could never be an actor, because they would never be able to fix this scene.
You're the Jimmy Fallon.
They would mess up one scene, and I would be
You're
gone.
the Jimmy Fallon of our group.
I'm ready. That was you! You made a noise! And so then I left. Okay. Alright, I'm good.
You can't even say goodbye? Can't even say see you later?
Okay, see you later.
Bye, guys.